Tonight, exclusive look inside the mysterious Skinwalker Ranch after a visit that proved to be little out of this world.
Sometimes camping trips get really strange, with stories that feel more like myths than reality. These unsuspecting campers caught some of the scariest and most unsettling moments on camera, from strange noises in the jungle to scary sights in the dead of night. No one was prepared for what came next. What eerie creatures are lurking in the dark? Join us as we dive into some spine-chilling camping encounters that would be hard to believe if they were not filmed. Number 15. Strange voice in the wilderness. Camping alone in the deep woods at night is already unsettling for most people, but when you're in complete isolation, it becomes downright terrifying. In October 2022, the YouTuber behind Creepy Outdoors uploaded a chilling experience during a solo camping trip to an unnamed forest. With only the darkness and distant sounds as his companions, the first minutes of his footage seemed quiet. Just him breathing and narrating his surroundings as he ventured further into the eerie forest. But at around the 13-minute mark, something took the video in a disturbing direction. Out of nowhere, a voice in the distance called out, "I see you." Now, while it's possible the sound was made by an animal like a coyote or a fox, the voice was unmistakably human. The uploader had been talking and making noise throughout his hike, so it's likely that whoever or whatever was out there had been alerted to his presence and waited for just the right moment to startle him. The timing made it all the more terrifying. The voice was heard just after he had turned off his lamp, almost as if the unseen figure had been watching and waiting for that exact moment. The woods, already remote and unsettling, suddenly became much more menacing. Alone and completely vulnerable, the uploader quickly decided to head back to his campsite, nerves on edge the entire time. Fortunately, he made it back safely, but the chilling encounter has left viewers wondering, who or what was lurking in those woods? Was it just a prank, or was there something far more sinister at play? Since then, Creepy Outdoors continues to upload videos, but this particular experience remains one of the most disturbing. Number 14. Creepy Trail Encounter. It was supposed to be a quiet overnight hike on the Appalachian Trail near Virginia, but for Phil, a YouTuber who had been documenting his outdoor adventures since 2017, things took a dark and disturbing turn in November 2021. If this camping encounter was not filmed, no one would have believed it. As he made his way along the trail, Phil noticed some strange trash littered along the side of the path. The trash wasn't just discarded waste, it had song lyrics and cryptic notes scribbled across it. Soon after, he stumbled upon a dead duck, placed near more disturbing messages, this time containing bizarre conspiracy theories and unsettling biographical details. The further Phil ventured, the creepier things became. Near the unsettling scene, he spotted a tarp and a fire from a nearby campsite, but he kept his distance. To make matters worse, two women with a dog soon appeared on the trail, asking if Phil had seen the man responsible for leaving the notes and dead animals. Spooked, they all walked back to the safety of their vehicles before parting ways. Later that night, Phil set up camp in a shelter miles away from the unsettling discovery. As he read through the shelter's logbook, he was horrified to find the same handwriting and strange ramblings that matched the notes he had found earlier. The bizarre entries, referencing conspiracy theories and Bible verses, left Phil unnerved. That night, as he tried to sleep, Phil heard someone with a headlamp walking around his shelter. Rather than wait to find out who it was, Phil packed up in the middle of the night and hiked back to his truck, checking over his shoulder the entire way. To this day, he hasn't returned to the area and has not encountered the mysterious individual again. Number 13. Terrifying Night in the Woods. In January 2024, Sam, a YouTuber from Cleveland, Ohio, known for his stealth camping trips, found himself in a situation that quickly spiraled into a nightmare. Stealth camping involves parking your van or setting up a tent in unconventional locations, often without permission. Sam had been doing this for years, uploading his adventures to his YouTube channel, The Northwest Wind, since 2016. But his latest trip took an unexpected turn. On this particular night, Sam decided to camp in the woods near a dog park in Cleveland. After leaving his van a few hundred yards away, he ventured deeper into the forest to set up camp. During his hike, he came across a tent that had been shredded to pieces. It was a creepy sight, but Sam, determined as ever, brushed it off and continued setting up his camp. As dusk fell, Sam prepared dinner on his camping stove. While the peaceful sound of the wind surrounded him, two strangers walked by his campsite. Immediately, Sam felt something wasn't right. He described getting a bad vibe from the men. However, instead of packing up and leaving, he decided to stay the night, despite his instincts telling him otherwise. Later, when Sam crawled into his tent to sleep, the real terror began. Footsteps crept closer, circling his tent. Sam called out, hoping it was just a curious passerby. But after calling out multiple times with no answer, the tension grew unbearable. The footsteps got louder, and the situation escalated. Sam shouted, "What do you want?" But there was only eerie silence in return. Suddenly, the strangers started touching his tent, collapsing it on him. Completely panicked, Sam scrambled for his knife, unsure of what was happening or what these people wanted. By this point, the situation was far more than an unsettling encounter. These strangers weren't just loitering, they were actively harassing him. Sam was terrified, unsure whether they were there to rob him, attack him, or something worse. He finally decided to abandon his campsite, yelling threats in an attempt to scare them off. In his rush to escape, Sam left his gear behind. As he fled through the woods, he could hear his attackers behind him. His headlamp flickered in the dense fog, and water dripped into his eyes, blurring his vision. The sound of footsteps closing in made him realize they weren't just playing a sick joke, they were hunting him. After what felt like an eternity, Sam reached his van and sped off. He later uploaded a video detailing the entire encounter. Some viewers claimed it was staged, but many agreed that Sam's fear was genuine. And whether real or staged, the horrifying possibility of being stalked in the woods at night is enough to send chills down anyone's spine. Number 12. Uninvited stranger at campfire. Grizzly Gaz, a well-known camping YouTuber, often embarks on challenging adventures with his loyal French bulldog, Fendi. In April 2023, one of his solo camping trips in the remote woods of the UK took an unexpected turn. As Gaz was preparing his dinner over a campfire, an unfamiliar man dressed in jeans and a coat suddenly approached his campsite. This man, who introduced himself as Martin, asked for some beer and food. While the encounter remained calm, it was undeniably unsettling to have a random stranger walk into your campsite deep in the woods, especially late in the evening. As the conversation unfolded, it became clear that Martin was not in the best state of mind. He rambled incoherently, sharing a story of how his life had spiraled due to drug use and how he had found himself wandering alone in the forest. What made this encounter even more disturbing was the fact that, after sharing a meal with Gaz, Martin disappeared without a word, leaving Gaz concerned about his intentions. Worried that Martin might return later in the night, potentially with others, Gaz made the cautious decision to leave the campsite. He left behind a trail camera to capture any suspicious activity. Upon returning the next morning, Gaz found that his trail camera had vanished. Whether Martin had taken it or something else had occurred remains a mystery, but the entire experience left Gaz questioning what could have happened if he had stayed overnight. Number 11. Eping Forest Encounter. Eping Forest in the United Kingdom is not your typical woodland. Known as one of the most haunted places in the world, it carries a history filled with dark and disturbing tales. Over the centuries, nearly 1,000 bodies have been discovered in the forest, many tied to sinister rituals, including devil worship and satanic sacrifices. And on one particularly unsettling night, Dan from the Exploring with Fighters YouTube channel, alongside his friend James, ventured into these woods for what was supposed to be a routine investigation. It didn't stay routine for long. The night started off peacefully enough. They set up camp by a body of water famously known as the Cursed Water, and settled in, telling stories by the campfire. As darkness grew thicker, they decided to explore further, setting up a spirit box to communicate with any lingering spirits. For a while, the night was quiet, even calming. But that didn't last. Out of nowhere, they noticed a strange light flickering deep within the forest. At first, they thought it might be someone with a torch walking their dog, but the more they watched, the more they questioned what they were seeing. The atmosphere grew heavy. Something was wrong. Then came the footsteps. At first, the sound was faint, but soon it became clear. Someone or something was circling their tents. Dan and James, now on edge, scanned the area, but every time they looked, the figure seemed to disappear. Tension mounted as they heard something even more unnerving, a woman's laughter, echoing eerily through the trees. Yet, when they searched for the source, they found nothing. Terrified, they decided they'd had enough. Retreating to their tents, the night finally fell silent. The next morning, they packed up and left Eping Forest, still haunted by the question, were they really alone in the woods, or were there unseen forces watching them? Number 10. Bear stalking campers. It was a peaceful night in Glacier National Park, with Samantha Woods and her friends enjoying the quiet solitude of their campsite. As the sun rose the next morning, she unzipped her tent, still groggy from sleep. What greeted her, however, was something no one would expect: a grizzly bear standing just inches from her face. The enormous creature had wandered into their campsite during the night and was sniffing around, seemingly unaware of the humans inside their tents. Frozen with fear, Samantha didn't make a sound. Her friends, also waking up, were equally stunned by the unexpected visitor. The bear, a powerful animal known for its agility and strength, could have easily caused chaos. But instead, it wandered around the campsite, sniffing a few items, before calmly retreating into the woods. Samantha later revealed that the incident was all caught on her phone, which she had instinctively started recording, capturing the bear's curiosity and her terror in equal measure. Camping in places like Glacier National Park comes with certain risks, particularly with wildlife such as grizzly bears. These animals, while majestic, are not to be taken lightly. Bears can weigh up to 800 pounds and stand over 7 feet tall, and they are capable of running up to 35 miles per hour. Thankfully, this bear was more interested in its surroundings than in the campers. Number 9. Ghostly figure near campsite. Jack Strickland had no idea what was waiting for him when he set up camp on Skull Island. Known for its eerie history of headhunting and mysterious survival stories, Skull Island, located off the coast of Queensland, Australia, is one of the most remote and haunted places in the region. Strickland, an experienced outdoorsman and YouTuber, took on the challenge of spending 24 hours alone on the island, documenting his adventure for his channel, Back to Basics Adventures. But what started as a daring solo trip quickly turned into something much more chilling. In the middle of the night, Strickland was awoken by strange sounds outside his tent. At first, he thought it was just the wind, but then he noticed something even more disturbing. The fire he had extinguished hours earlier had reignited on its own. He later revealed that his wildlife camera had captured something terrifying: a faceless, ghostly figure lurking near his campsite. The camera, which is motion-activated, began filming when it detected movement or heat, just as Strickland had heard the strange noises. What made the encounter even more bizarre was that there were no tracks in the sand the next morning, leading some to speculate that the figure was not human. While some viewers of the footage suggested it could have been a lens flare or a trick of the light, the footage left Strickland and his followers deeply unnerved. Number 8. Nightcrawler Encounter. In 2011, campers in Yosemite National Park captured something truly unsettling on their trail cameras. what appeared to be long-legged glowing creatures walking eerily through the forest. Known as the Fresno Nightcrawlers, these entities have been described as standing about 4 to 6 feet tall, with pale, almost glowing skin. What makes them even stranger is their unusual movement, as if they're gliding rather than walking. This footage, much clearer than the original 2007 video from Fresno, added fuel to the growing mystery surrounding these creatures. The Nightcrawlers have no visible arms, and their heads seem to blend seamlessly into their stilt-like legs, making their form completely unique in the cryptid world. Witnesses claim the beings don't appear to be aggressive, but their very presence sends chills down the spine. In the Yosemite sighting, multiple creatures appeared together, which led some to believe they might exhibit social behavior, an odd theory for something so alien-like. Theories range from extraterrestrials to ancient beings, with some tying their appearance to Native American folklore, where tall, thin stickmen are said to wander the forests at night. Although skeptics suggest it could be an elaborate hoax involving puppetry or CGI, the footage remains hard to debunk, with many paranormal investigators unable to definitively prove it fake. Number 7. Mountain Lion Encounter. It was a quiet afternoon in the Mayacamas Mountains of Northern California, but that peace didn't last long for two hikers. Out of nowhere, a mountain lion appeared on the trail, its eyes locked on the hikers. Instead of turning away, the big cat began stalking them. Armed with nothing but their hiking sticks and a camera, the pair knew they had to act quickly. Mountain lions are stealthy predators, often unseen until it's too late. But this time, the hikers caught the whole encounter on film. They remembered the survival tips: make yourself look bigger, never turn your back, and back away slowly. Using their trekking poles, they raised their arms and started speaking loudly, trying to intimidate the animal. For several tense minutes, the mountain lion didn't budge, as if weighing its options. The hikers never took their eyes off the big cat, knowing a single misstep could trigger an attack. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the mountain lion backed off and disappeared into the trees. The hikers' quick thinking and composure likely saved their lives, and the entire scene was captured on camera. Number 6. Unseen Presence. On a warm summer day in August 2024, Travis, known online as Travis the Explorer, set out for a peaceful solo camping trip in a remote mountainous area. What started as a routine getaway into the wilderness quickly became an unnerving experience that left him with more questions than answers. After setting up camp and gathering firewood, the calm of the forest was interrupted by a series of strange noises coming from the woods. Initially, Travis chalked it up to the natural sounds of the forest, perhaps rotting logs settling or a distant animal moving about. But as the evening went on, the noises grew louder and closer. He began to feel the eerie sense that he wasn't alone. Equipped with only a flashlight, Travis decided to scan the area. He expected to catch a glimpse of an animal, or maybe even just the reflection of glowing eyes. But there was nothing. The darkness swallowed the beam of his light, leaving him with an unsettling sense of vulnerability. Just as he was packing up to leave, things took a turn for the worse. In the distance, but close enough to send chills down his spine, Travis spotted what appeared to be a person standing in the woods. The figure was dressed head to toe in camouflage, angled slightly away from him, and stood about 6 feet tall. The figure didn't move, didn't acknowledge Travis, but it was unmistakably a human. Travis watched for a full 20 seconds, unsure whether to call out or simply flee. Thoughts raced through his mind. Was this person stalking him? Were they armed? Why were they hiding in the middle of the wilderness, watching him in silence? At that moment, Travis made the decision to leave the area immediately. He quickly gathered his belongings and headed back toward his car, shaken but unharmed. Before we move on, here's today's subscriber's pick. If these camping encounters were not filmed, no one would have believed it. Recently, a man posted this jaw-dropping image, and the internet exploded with theories. The photo shows a bizarre creature trapped inside a cage, staring threateningly at a man nearby. Some users speculated that it could be a previously undiscovered species or a mythical beast caught on camera. But as captivating as it is, experts quickly pointed out that the image is digitally altered. Still, the creature's striking resemblance to a vulkodlak, a terrifying werewolf-like entity from Slavic folklore, has left many people intrigued. For those unfamiliar, the vulkodlak is a shapeshifter, often linked to nightmarish stories of people transforming into wolf-like beasts under the full moon. Legends say they stalk forests, attacking livestock and humans, adding a sinister twist to the already chilling image. While this particular sighting is a digital creation, the unsettling details, sharp claws, piercing eyes, and the haunting atmosphere of the forest had viewers hooked. It certainly stirred up fear and fascination, especially among fans of cryptid lore. Could a creature like this really exist? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Number 5. The Alaskan Triangle. In the vast and untamed wilderness of Alaska lies an area that has earned a chilling reputation, the Alaskan Triangle. Stretching between Anchorage, Juneau, and Utqiagvik, this region has witnessed the unexplained disappearances of over 20,000 people since the 1970s. It's not just the missing persons that make the Alaskan Triangle so unnerving. Locals and explorers alike have reported other strange phenomena that seem to defy explanation. One particular night, a group of campers in the heart of the triangle heard unsettling sounds echoing from all directions around their campsite. The noises were so bizarre, it felt as if the entire forest had come alive, with the eerie sounds even drowning out a nearby airplane. Despite their best efforts, the campers couldn't identify the source of the sounds. It wasn't coming from any visible wildlife, and no one else seemed to be in the area. Many attribute these types of experiences to the paranormal lore surrounding the Alaskan Triangle. From stories of UFO sightings to cryptid creatures like the Kushtaka, a shape-shifting otter-like being from Tlingit folklore, the region's mysteries have baffled investigators for years. Some speculate that these incidents could be linked to energy vortexes, electromagnetic anomalies, or even extraterrestrial activity. In one chilling case, Japan Airlines Flight 1628 reported seeing 3 unidentified flying objects while flying over the triangle in 1986. Whatever the explanation, this group of campers experienced firsthand the haunting mysteries of the Alaskan wilderness, leaving them and countless others questioning what truly lurks in the vastness of the triangle. Number 4. The Unexpected Camping Trip. It was December 28, 2023, when Jasko and his friends, Benjamin and Chris, headed out for a late-night investigation into one of America's most haunted forests. Their plan was simple: explore the eerie woods and test out a spirit box. But things went wrong almost immediately. Their car got stuck on ice, forcing them to set up camp for the night. The temperature dropped, and the already creepy setting was made worse by unsettling screams and strange noises echoing through the trees. As the night wore on, Benjamin, left alone at camp, began hearing footsteps and distant whistles. The sounds seemed to be getting closer, stirring panic. The cold weather and isolation made everything worse, and Benjamin decided to take shelter in the car. Moments later, someone, or something, tried the door handle. Heart racing, Benjamin looked around but found no one. He waited for what felt like an eternity until the group reunited. When Jasko and Chris finally returned, they too had their share of eerie experiences, hearing loud, unexplained noises that echoed through the woods. The night stretched on, filled with tension, and by morning, the group, shaken but safe, left the forest, vowing never to return. Whatever was out there that night, it certainly wasn't just the cold that made this one of their most terrifying adventures yet. Number 3. The Haunted Cabins. On April 16, 2024, Jasko, Chris, and Benjamin set off on another chilling adventure. Their destination? One of the most haunted forests in America, a place filled with abandoned cabins, each with its own dark past. After a 2-hour drive, they arrived at the forest, ready to explore the eerie surroundings. While Benjamin stayed back at the campsite to set things up, Jasko and Chris went to grab some supplies. When they returned, Benjamin was nowhere to be found. Panic set in, but the two friends decided to stay calm and search for him. As they scouted the area, distant gunshots echoed through the cold air, an unsettling sound they didn't expect in such a supposedly abandoned place. Eventually, they found Benjamin, shaken but unharmed. The group decided to stick together, knowing this was just the beginning of what would be a disturbing night. With their nerves already frayed, they made the bold decision to explore the haunted cabins. Armed with nothing but a spirit talker and flashlights, Jasko led the way into one of the decrepit buildings. Almost immediately, things began to take a terrifying turn. Strange noises filled the air, crashing sounds, whispers, and doors creaking open without anyone touching them. Jasko's heart raced as he tried to rationalize what was happening, but the feeling of being watched was unmistakable. Meanwhile, Benjamin and Chris, who were keeping watch outside, experienced their own spine-chilling encounters. At one point, Benjamin heard footsteps circling him, despite no one being nearby. Chris, too, saw strange lights flickering in the distance, but neither could explain the source. The longer they stayed, the worse things got. Lights continued to flash around them, accompanied by eerie laughter in the distance. Not willing to push their luck any further, the trio quickly made their way back to the car, rattled and eager to leave. But as they drove away, one question remained: who or what was out there with them in those woods? Number 2. Tornado in a bushcraft shelter. In May 2022, a camping trip turned into a life-threatening survival story when outdoorsman Tyson Piers and 2 young boys found themselves in the middle of a devastating tornado. What was supposed to be a quiet afternoon of building a Viking-style bushcraft shelter quickly became a fight for survival as a derecho storm, bringing tornado-force winds, descended upon their camp in Ontario, Canada. The storm came without much warning, and the winds rapidly picked up, knocking down trees around them. Piers and the boys took shelter in the structure they had been working on, an amateurish bushcraft shelter. With gusts so strong that entire trees were uprooted, the 3 huddled inside, hearing the howling winds and crashes of falling timber all around them. Tyson managed to keep the camera rolling, documenting their terrifying experience inside the shelter. You can hear him realizing how dire the situation is as the winds intensify. Miraculously, the shelter held firm, offering them enough protection until the storm passed. They emerged shaken, but unharmed, and the footage became a stark reminder of how unpredictable nature can be. This footage is one of those rare moments where being prepared and filming the event truly made a difference, capturing a near-death experience that many might have dismissed as exaggerated, if not for the raw footage. Number 1. Tree nearly crushing a tent. It was supposed to be a peaceful camping trip at the Yarrawonga Common in Victoria, Australia, when a group of campers narrowly avoided what could have been a tragic incident. In January 2022, as they were getting ready to enjoy their stay in nature, a massive tree collapsed just inches from their tents. The huge tree crushed a Subaru Outback parked nearby and fell perilously close to the tent where the campers were sleeping, leaving them with an unforgettable, heart-pounding moment. Footage captured after the event shows the sheer size of the fallen tree and the proximity to the campers' tents. Remarkably, no one was injured, but the incident highlighted the dangers of camping near old or weakened trees. Experts often warn about the risks posed by large trees during high winds or storms, as they can fall without warning. This wasn't an isolated event. Across the world, trees falling during camping trips have resulted in close calls and in some tragic cases, fatalities. Whether it's due to high winds, soil erosion, or weakened tree trunks, campers should always avoid pitching tents under large trees, no matter how tempting the shade might be. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.